Hey guys, I'm Sujit, founder of Synergia. To tell you what Synergia is basically an LLM based operating system tailor made for financial markets. So you can think of it as like a hyper intelligent version of Bloomberg Terminal that lets you do really complex task and analysis on top of your data as well as other in-house analytics. To give you like a brief overview, Synergia is built on a multi-agent LLM framework. So we primarily have three agents with fourth agent under development. So the first agent is the text agent, which is responsible for ingesting, analyzing, and reasoning over text data. Then we have data science agent to perform, market-specific data analysis. And then we have the quant agent that lets you perform complex quantitative research workflows. The fourth agent is quant dev agent, which is basically what you need to deploy your trading strategy. So think of it as, using a command to basically deploy a trading strategy you've figured out using this application. So it's like sort of a hedge fund in a box sort of solution. So today I'm gonna showcase you how one should use Synergia and how one could use its capabilities to extract insights that can be monetized pretty effectively in the markets. So I think I'll go forward first with text agent. So it's built on top of a bunch of in-house sell side and buy side research reports, and I'll show you how you could leverage that not only to extract meaningful insights but also get a lot of tactical trade recommendations. Then I'll go on to the data science agent that lets you perform some sort of factor construction and analysis as well as basic modeling exercises. And at the end, I'll take you through the quant tooling agent that lets you perform end-to-end alpha research analysis, backtesting, and as well as some portfolio analysis and attribution. So like stuff like pharma fetch attribution and like analyzing a sample portfolio, all that could be done by quant tooling agent. So yeah, like without any further delays, let me show you the demo. Okay, so I have already prepared a bunch of questions beforehand so that the flow is quick. So let me, sort of take you through the first question. So this is based on the text agent, and this application automatically selects the agent based on the user question. So you don't have to sort of like flip through different agents manually. So I think the first question is like, let's say I want to assess, I just want to look at, basic market analysis on Nasdaq index, with focus on market technical or technical analysis. So I'm just gonna press enter and let this application do its thing. Just FYI, this the workflow, like the operating system, is pretty complex, so it takes some time to sort of run through its analysis. So you can like basically fast forward to the final results if you don't want to wait, for the response. Okay, so nice. So what we see over here is a pretty detailed analysis. So it basically tells you, different sort of metrics around market technical. So it tells you about trend analysis, your support and resistance levels, some sort of technical indicators like RSI, as well as its interpretation, basically telling you if it's like or at oversold or overbought conditions. Um, and the great thing about this framework is like it's not like a simple talk to your documents. It basically does a lot of analysis and reasoning. It'll present you a lot of actionable insights. It will tell you how to take advantage of this information. So, which is missing even from stuff like ChatGPT. It'll never tell you what to do. So, the great thing about this agent is like it'll tell you based on what it sees, it'll summarize information and it'll tell you what to do, how to take advantage of that information in financial markets by the way of creating trading strategies. So let's go through a few more questions specifically on text region. So I just, like in this question, I just want to analyze, what are the key upcoming macro events and how they may impact financial markets. So yeah, let's wait for the LLM to respond. Okay, so nice. So you can see like it basically outlines, the key upcoming events. So, it'll tell you information on like what are the key upcoming events and how they may impact the financial market. So just FYI, I think the knowledge base cutoff for this application is May 16. So it's a little outdated, but I mean, you can like see, based on the cutoff information, how good it is in terms of coming up with the responses. So for each of these events, it will tell you, how it will impact different asset classes, uh, as well as it will tell you actionable insights. So like something like that is pretty informative, right? So it'll tell you like, because of the dovish stance, you should increase exposure to rate sensitive sectors like financials and banking sector, as well as, look at things like sector rotation. So this is pretty insightful. It'll help you prepare for upcoming market events. Okay, so let's do maybe a couple of more. Uh, let's just go ahead with this. Let's just say I want to analyze, or like I want to see what are the best semiconductor stocks to buy in the near term. And I want, my knowledge base and my operating system to tell me what stocks should I buy. So, okay, so you see, like it basically tells you which stocks do you want to invest in the semiconductor space, as well as tells you the rationale behind investing in them. So, again, pretty powerful stuff. Instead of you going through hundreds of pages of research reports, it does a pretty good job of, summarizing, analyzing, and reasoning across them to tell you what to do. So, uh, yeah, this is like pretty good. So it'll tell you like, in terms of like short-term trading behavior as well as in terms of like long-term investments, like based on how you want to play it, it'll tell you like what to look at. So this basically covers the text agent, and this is a pretty good segue into the next agent that I'm going to showcase you, which is the data science agent. So like let's say out of these five stocks, let's say I like Nvidia, AMD, and say Intel, and I want to see, what if I create like an equated portfolio of these three stocks? Like, how would they have performed over time? So again, I've already pre-built, pre-computed these questions. So what I'm gonna do here is like type this out and say that I'll basically tell the LLM to create an equated portfolio, allocate 33.33% to each of these three stocks, and like plot the performance of this portfolio over time so that I know like how it performed throughout its history. So I'm gonna press enter, and it's automatically going to select the data science agent, so you don't have to explicitly specify what it should do, what agent it should choose. So yeah, let's wait for the response and see what we get out of this question. Okay, so again, pretty cool, right? So it basically backtests the entire performance of this portfolio, starting from July 2019. So I think like May 2019. This is so within our own database, this is where we have the data from. So we can basically, if we can update the database to let's say like start of 2005, you could do that too. It basically depends on what's the capacity of a database. So you could see, right, like till November 2021, before the rate hike cycle, these stocks performed pretty well. And after Jan, when the AI craze began, like it again like started pumping up. So this basically tells you, you don't have to manually download data in an Excel or in a Python script and plot these plots. You can like basically use this application to get the results out. And a cool part is like you can download this data as CSV. So it not only sort of plots it, like plots the returns. It basically also gives you the capability to like download the data. So yeah, again, like it's like it basically automates your analysis quite a bit. Now, I'm going to take you through other slightly more complex questions. So, like, let's say I want to do some sort of factor analysis, right? Let's say there's a factor in my mind and I want to see how it performs, like just by plotting basic visuals. So, like, let's say I want to calculate ratio of two VIX indices, like one is a 9-day VIX and VIX spot, which is based on 30-day options. And I want to generate a scatter plot against 1 day forward SPY returns. So, like, returns the next day. So this basically tells me if there's any informative coefficient or if there's any information in this factor. So let me hit enter and let me see what the scatter plot shows before I move on to the next steps. Okay, so yeah, your VIX ratio is on the x-axis and your SPY 1 day forward return is on y-axis, and basically tells you the scatter plot. So like larger VIX ratios are more associated with higher returns, both on positive and on negative side. So, but it's mostly if you see, mostly you have more returns below zero. So higher ratio of this VIX index is associated with lower SPY returns. So maybe you could like use this to develop a trading strategy, which I'll come to later because in the other agent I'll showcase you how to use this to actually develop a trading strategy. But before we go there, there are a couple of more things I want to showcase you. So uh, let's go through another example, similar example on factor analysis, but on NVIDIA. So let's say I want to see if the call open interest and put open interest of NVIDIA has any information advantage. And what I want to do over here is instead of a scatter plot, I want to plot a kernel density estimation plot. So it basically plots a distribution of these two factors. So let me hit enter and let's see what we come up with. So yeah, as you can see here, like the distribution seems pretty flat. Uh, so I wouldn't say there's like too much information in this factor. So maybe it's not worth exploring further. And this is how you can basically accelerate your factor and alpha research. So instead of coding a bunch of functions at once, you can basically use a command prompt to sort of get the final response. And yeah, like as before, you have basic data as well. So in case you want to perform some further analysis manually in an Excel or in a Python script, you can download this data and do that. Okay, so I think one final uh, question I want to discuss on the data science agent side is sort of a modeling exercise. So I think this application can support really complex modeling exercises using complex machine learning algorithms like random forest models or even like basic neural network models. But I'm gonna go ahead and like basically showcase you a simple linear regression model. So what I want to do here is basically, I want to see if the spread or the difference between AAA and triple B corporate credit rates in US has any sort of predictive power over 1 day SPY forward returns. And to test this, I'm going to use linear regression using ordinary least squares method. And I'm going to sort of analyze the results using stats model library, which is a pretty popular library for linear regression. So let's hit enter and let's see what we come up with. So yeah, it basically gives you the data, the spread and the forward return, and these are the regression results. So it'll basically tell you the coefficient values, the constant value and the spread value, which is the difference between the two, as well as the test statistics. So I mean, if you've done linear regression, you see like these are pretty low. So these are don't look like these are statistically significant. And yeah, I think this is how you can basically use these like this application to even run like complex machine learning tasks. So I think this sort of covers the data science agent. The last agent in this demo is the quant tooling agent. So if you remember, we tested the ratio of VIX 9-day to VIX spot, and we saw there is some sort of information in that particular factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of compute the same factor again, and I'm going to do something called percentile analysis. So percentile analysis is an in-house tool, part of Synergia. So what it does is it'll calculate percentiles for each of these values over a period of say like last 100 days, and it's going to analyze, based it's sort of bin the percentiles into five different quantiles. So from like 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, and 80 to 100, and it's gonna see how 1 day forward returns are for each of those bins. So what this does is like it basically helps you design trading strategies. So if you see a clear pattern in these percentile analysis, you can design a trading strategy that takes advantage of either linearly increasing or a linearly decreasing or some sort of relation between percentiles and forward returns. So once we see the results, I think it'll help us design a trading strategy that we can backtest, analyze, and assess, which will come after this question. Okay. So yeah, over here it says that it calculated the ratio and performed percentile analysis on 1 day forward SPY returns. And you can see there is some sort of pattern. So like first percentile where the ratio is lower, mean return is pretty high. It's like close to 3%. Uh, However, on like second, third, and fourth percentile, it like linearly decreases. So there is a monotonically decreasing pattern over here. So the good thing is like it just won't generate the results. It's also telling you this like it's identified pattern. So it's saying smaller bin as positive returns, larger bin as negative returns, indicating negative predictability. So okay, now it's also telling us how we should design the strategy. So it says that whenever it's in high percentiles, you should short. When it's like in low percentiles, it should go long. So it's basically not only analyzing the data, it's also recommending what we should do next. So let's just sort of design a simple trading strategy, right? Like what I'm gonna do is like I'm just gonna have like a binary score over here. So what I'll do is like I'll compute the ratio and I'm gonna tell this operating system is like calculate signals where if the ratio is less than 1, we go long SPY. Else if the ratio is more than 1.5, if it's like really high, we should short SPY. Else we don't take any position. So instead of using percentiles, I'm going to create like actual thresholds based on the factor value, and I want to test this on intraday data. So I don't want to use daily data because daily data isn't as reliable. I want to see if I honestly if I deploy the strategy right now, what are the nuances and how will it perform using intraday data sets. So let's hit enter. This could take a bit of time because backtesting takes time, but we should see some interesting results based on the strategy. Okay, interesting. Let's look at the results. So, okay, I think first it's just going to take you through the analyzed returns and the analyzed volatility with maximum drawdown and Sharpe ratio. So you could see that in some years it does perform really well. Like especially from 2019 to 2021, it performed really well with sort of a drop in 2022, but after that it's again sort of picked up. And it also tells you like sort of gives you recommendation. Is it suboptimal? Is it terrible? Is it good? So you sort of know based on the benchmark performance how good or bad the strategy is doing. And yeah, it also aggregates the entire thing. So it provide you a yearly summary of performance as well as full period. And you could see like go into details of metrics as well. So it'll tell you total number of trades, what is the hit ratio, profit factor, average bottom 10 returns to top 10 returns, holding period, etc., etc. And it's also going to tell you actionable insights. Like it's not going to be a very comprehensive analysis, but just based on the results, it's going to tell you what are the areas of improvement and like where can you improve the strategy. So you could go down and say that like basically we have a negative profit factor, so it's saying that maybe revise entry and exit criteria. So instead of just using a simple threshold value, like maybe have a more intelligent entry exit criteria. uh, it's also telling you, 2022 was a pretty volatile period. Like all of us know, markets didn't do well. So it's telling us, maybe have guardrails to protect against volatile markets. And yeah, also tells you like, maybe add more strategies to this particular one to like create a more diversified performance. Uh, and yeah, I think it just like tells you, like the performance. So like the underlying SPY performance is this, and the strategy performance is this. So you can see like it's still doing pretty well compared to the benchmark. And as before, if you want to download raw metrics, do your own analysis, you could do that over here. So yeah, this covers alpha research and backtesting, and basically tells you how comprehensive the analysis is of this operating system. I think like finally, I want to describe you how we could also use this for portfolio management. So what I'm gonna do is like I have a sample portfolio, uh, and I'm gonna first generate the performance of that portfolio, like see how that portfolio performs compared to benchmark. And I also want to do some sort of pharma French analysis, do some sort of sector or like factor attribution. So I have the sample portfolio of tickers and weights. So the weights sum to one. We have close to 173 tickers. And yeah, let's just generate the performance. Let's just see like how this portfolio performs and just get the portfolio performance metrics. So this could take a bit of time because it has to download a lot of data. But yeah, let's hit enter and see what we get. Okay, so it took some time, but you could see like it's generated a pretty comprehensive report on this particular portfolio. So uh, I'm just going to take you through this tier sheet. So it basically plots the strategy versus SPY, which is the benchmark. You have a bunch of key performance metrics over here on the right side. Uh, you have a bunch of return metrics, yearly return metrics, distribution of the returns, daily returns, the rolling beta to benchmark, rolling volatility, rolling sharp, uh, and as well as like drawdown analysis and monthly return performance. So what this OS does is like it ingests all this data and it'll analyze it and tell you like where, how it's performing. So as you can see that like CAGR for the strategy is lower than SPY. So, the alpha over here is pretty low. It's actually negative compared to the benchmark. In terms of like Sharpe ratio, that's also lower. And you can have these like multipliers. So in case you have a multiplier of greater than 1.2x, you could add that in the knowledge base and sort of generate a new analysis report. And yeah, it'll honestly like go through multiple metrics and provide its recommendation and a summary. uh, and yeah, this basically tells you like you need further analysis and adjustments to improve the performance compared to the benchmark. So this is like a good starting point for portfolio analysis. So you basically generate the performance. Next thing you can do is like some sort of factor attribution. So I'm going to use pharma Finch 5 factor models to sort of perform some sort of attribution, and I'm gonna hit enter. I'm doing this for the same portfolio. So let's see what we get in terms of the response. Okay, so yeah, here we have the Farmer Finch analysis. So it generates a bunch of things. So it'll basically decompose the portfolio risk into overall risk and factor risk. So it's like overall risk is composed of factor risk, Farmer Finch 5 factor risk, and some sort of a portfolio specific risk. So you could see like for both, like if you have the actual portfolio versus the equal weighted version of the same portfolio, the specific risk is zero, which is good. Then it will go through each of these 5 factors and sort of attribute the performance. It'll tell you like the composition of performance, and it just tells you overall insight. So over here it says like we have like positive sensitivity to value stocks. So like portfolio is more oriented towards value stocks, and a negative sensitivity to small cap stocks. So the portfolio is sort of conservative. It likes value stocks, large cap value stocks, and it's like it doesn't have too much allocation to small cap stocks, which are more volatile. and also like the market factor, which is the market risk, which is sort of like related to SPY's composition, and the profitability factor also have like positive relationship. So it basically encapsulates the whole analysis and tells you where the portfolio is skewed towards, and where it's lacking. And it also looks at a few concentration metrics. So it basically tells you if your portfolio is concentrated or not. So you can see like it has a high number of constituents, so 172 stocks, which is pretty good, which is like good for diversification. And but it says like number of correlated bets, that basically tells you this could be like more concentrated in certain factors or sectors. And based on this analysis, it tells you actionable insights. So it'll tell you like which factor you should reduce your exposure to, which factor you should increase your exposure to, and how can you make your portfolio much more diversified and have higher chances of future returns. And yeah, as before, you could like download this data and do your own analysis. So yeah, I think this sort of ends this demo. So I've showcased you how you could use multiple agents, not just to like get insights from text-based data sets, but also perform complex data science tasks on factor construction, factor analysis, machine learning operations, as well as hardcore complex quantitative workflows like alpha research, backtesting, and portfolio analysis. So this sort of shows you within like let's say like 20 minutes you have done work that would probably take weeks for a bit of like for a regular researcher to do. So just shows you what the possibilities are. And yeah, I will I will create more demos to sort of exhibit more capabilities. So there are a lot of other capabilities in plan. In next few weeks I will release more demos to tell you what more could you do with this application. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this demo, and yeah, really happy to be working on this project.